You know, in the classroom, I use an example quite often that I call many hammers. Now, when you walk into Lowe's or Home Depot and you're going to do a job, you can walk into a section with hammers. And if you take a look on the wall, what are you going to see? Well, just like my challenge coins here, you're going to see many different types of hammers. They've got hammers for drywall. They've got some with claw backs on them, makes it easier to take the nails out. They've got newer, fancier ones. They've got bigger. They've even got up to like sledgehammers and mallets, and they've got all sorts of hammer type objects that will whack a nail into the wall. Here's my point with all of that. When all of my students know this phrase, there are many hammers, is it doesn't matter how you got the job done, as long as it was done and it was done right and you're solving the problem. And an example is this past week we were working with a class. There was someone in black belt that had been trained different for their green belt. And when you're doing the SIPOC or SIPOC, you generally fill it out starting with the customers first, right? You start with the C and you work backward. Well, here's the deal. This person was actually taught that you start with the suppliers. And there was almost like a debate for a moment on it, and I really didn't care. I just simply asked, well, hey, how would you fill that out? How do you know your suppliers before you even know who your customers are, right? And then with your customers, you have to figure out what the output is that the customers want. But anyway, I just said, so I don't know how you do that necessarily, but if you were taught that way and it's worked because you're a certified green belt, you've done projects and all that, I'm like, that's great. And she was kind of confused, and I said, you realize that was the first time I used the many hammers one in that particular class, and I'm like, there's many hammers. I said, here's the thing, did you get that nail in the wall? She's like, well, yeah, I got that. Is it done? Is the SIPOC done, or the SIPOC, depending on the one you're doing? Well, yeah, it's done. Is it done right? Yeah. Okay, so you put the nail in the wall. So what do I care? I don't care what type of hammer you used. You have a different hammer than I do. So that's why I get a little bit nervous when master black belts like to tell people like, oh, you have to do it this way. That is just so false, and that's actually a dangerous thing to say. Because like when you're filling out a risk tool, for instance, that's one of my favorite ones. There's a failure modes and effects analysis that can be used in like any phase of DMAIC. We teach it everywhere. And then on top of that, some people may use even a different risk tool, right? Because we have another risk tool that we use as well. Are you following what the project management body of knowledge says about risk? Are you identifying the risk? Are you quantifying the risk? Are you preparing a risk mitigation plan? And then are you actually going to implement it and then follow through and keep updating it as you go along? If you're following those steps, what does it matter what the tool looks like? So, and that's the thing that I get from a lot of master black belts too. I've actually had discussions, almost heated in a way, where that annoys them to no end. It's like, well, this tool, I learned that this tool, it belongs right here. And I go, yeah, and? Well, it works over here too. I found a way to use it in this point too. So I'm making this video to just let you know it's actually dangerous when people say that, because then what it does is it puts the DMAIC process and the toolkit that goes with it, it puts it into a really tight box, and it kind of kills its innovation. But the whole point, coming back to the beginning of it, is there are many hammers when you walk into Lowe's or Home Depot. Well, why? Because it depends on the job that you're doing. But either way, as long as the nail gets hammered into the wall, I don't really care how it gets nailed in. Do you? No. Remember, we're here to do 3 words: solve the problem. All right, hope this helps.